What's up, family? What's up? So you guys been asking for this video over and over and over, and it's finally being done. Magic Johnson and Larry Bird, a courtship of rivals basketball. Reaction, man. I'm thinking about splitting it up and then releasing a full, video. Splitting it up, part one, part two, part three, whatever. Or I'm thinking about just releasing a full video. Or I might just split it up in parts and then release the full video. I don't know yet, man. Comment down below, family, what y'all think I should do. But I ain't gonna do no more talking. Let's get straight into the video, man.
They talk about it every day, somewhere. If I go to a foreign country, magic, what magic? It's the same everywhere.
Magic, we're magic. They basically long lost brothers then, because for the simple fact, if somebody see Larry, they ask for Magic. Just imagine if someone see Magic and they ask for Larry. All for the simple fact that they had historical runs, both of them, and very much appreciation to the game of basketball, and their talents and the things that they had done to bring value to the sport of basketball, let alone it being a historical competitive run against each other. You know what I'm saying?
We don't have to see each other. We don't have to say hello. We don't have to call each other.
That's my main competition. It's always been like that.
You know you got this tight bond with this cat, and you don't have to see him for a year or two. But you're always going to be linked to him.
Yeah. In regards of y'all legacies and what y'all have done involving each other, along with y'all historical runs and legacy and the impact that y'all gave to the game of basketball, let alone that was televised to the world, and what y'all gonna be known for, which is basketball. I mean, you can't mention one without the other, because it's like y'all both push each other to y'all fullest potential. It's like one foot washes the others, right? But instead, y'all push each other not only to be legendary, uniquely pertaining to your own game and your own gameplay and how y'all played the game, but when it came to competition, y'all raised the bar, and y'all raised the bar, and y'all went hardcore, man.
We got this connection that's never going to be broken. I mean, right to our graves. They'll be talking about this 100 years from now.
Yeah. If you want to learn the history of basketball, of course, it has to be talked about. Michigan State.
It all began here in Salt Lake City, Utah, on the night of March 26, 1979.
That's a big arena. Bro, that's a big arena. Look at that joint. That joint look like a tent where a circus be having a circus. It look like the tent that be at the circus. The whole, all the stands going downward, pointing to the floor. I feel like they had more seats back then than now.
On the night of March 26, 1979. It was the NCAA championship. Indiana State versus Michigan State. A game that still ranks as the highest rated college final ever on television.
Wow.
A game that's now remembered as a prologue to a rivalry that
What's the coincidence? Look at this. Sorry, family. Look at this, though. Look. Watch Magic.
transformed a sport and intertwined two legacies. But on that night, March 26, 1979,
Run it back, bro. What you doing? You see how Larry Bird wearing the baby blue?
final ever on television.
Magic wearing the green, right?
That's now remembered.
And Larry Bird wearing the baby blue. You can't tell me that foreshadowed the future to come, because the Lakers color, they have that baby blue, right, as one of their jerseys. The Celtics has that green that Magic have on. Bro, don't tell me that's not a coincidence. Bro, it's not. It can't be a coincidence, bro. Look at the college they play for, having the colors of their future teams when they play in the actual, when they get to the league. Like,
Is a prologue to a rivalry that transformed a sport and intertwined two legacies. But on that night, March 26, 1979, the first time Magic Johnson and Larry Bird ever went head-to-head on a basketball court. They were simply two young men trying to win a very big ball game.
Well, this is probably the biggest game I'll ever play in my life, and I just feel like, you know, I'm representing not only myself, my team, but we're representing our school and our town of Terre Haute.
Well, it's a dream come true, really, for me. I won the state title back in my home state, and then my next accomplishment was going to the NCAA and playing in a game like tonight in the finals.
They were two stars thrown together by the cosmos to compete, but only one of them had been groomed for the spotlight. In his case, it seemed since birth.
I think his upbringing in East Lansing really put that smile on his face in the beginning, and it never came off.
Born August 14th, 1959, Irvin Johnson grew up in Lansing, a gritty...
August 14th, 1959. What's my man's zodiac sign, bro? I'm curious. I'm gonna look up Larry Bird's too. My man, a Leo.
industrial capital city of Michigan. Raised under this little roof, he was one of Christine and Irvin Johnson Sr.'s 10 kids.
10
Christine
kids.
was a school custodian, while Irvin Sr. worked 2 jobs nearly around the clock.
My father, he got up early every morning, 6 o'clock or so, and he went to work on his trash hauling truck every single day. Around noon, he would come home, catch a nap, and then he worked for General Motors for 30 years. And he won an award for never being late and never missed a day.
As a youngster, Irvin displayed his own strong work ethic on the blacktop.
I was out there all day long. Before we went to school, the bus leave at 7:30. I was out there at 6:30 working on my game. My mother sometimes had to bring me food, or she would have one of my brothers and sisters, go get that boy so he could eat something.
I mean, well, at least his mother was still supporting his dream, supporting and believing in him, let alone, you know, constantly having to remind, you know, for him to go eat or whatever. I know that could be probably annoying at times, but she still supported, you know, his work ethic, let alone what he was passionate about doing, right?
From a very young age, Irvin knew what he wanted to do. He had it all planned out.
My dreams were to play in the NBA and become a businessman.
The first neighborhood basketball powerhouse, Sexton High.
I knew the players, I knew the tradition. I wanted to be a part of that. And it was on the west side of town, which was, at that time, predominantly black.
But when Lansing, like many cities in the mid-70s, began busing to desegregated school system, Irvin's journey took an unexpected detour to a predominantly white school across town.
My first day at Everett High School was my first time I really had to understand there was a race problem. Nobody white would speak to anybody black, and nobody black would speak to anybody white.
A lot of racial tension, a lot of fights, rioting. They didn't want minorities there.
He kind of shrugged it off, and basically his attitude was, okay, well, I'll overcome this.
I mean, at the end of the day, when you got a dream, you got a direction, at the end of the day, you're going to be committed to that, and your emotions, you're going to remove your emotions out of it and not be emotionally attached to the results of the circumstances, but stay committed to where you're going, because that's the bigger picture, right? That's the long-term game. So Magic had a long-term vision.
Any racial problems, the principal would get Irvin and go talk to these kids. I can just see him with his big hands. Calm down, just calm down. He'd break up fights.
talk with his friends, tell him, let it go. We can't fight about everything. Let's just chill. Let's play basketball.
And there was no dispute over Irvin Johnson's ability to play ball. His talent was so great that soon after his varsity debut, a local reporter, dazzled by his exploits, gave the budding star a nickname.
In the beginning, I thought it was foolish and dumb. I didn't know nothing about a nickname. Then what happened was, you start saying, wait a minute.
My man got the shaggy. My man has some long hair. My man could get some braids in his hair, man. Look at that joint, man. Got a skunk on his head.
It fits my game. Hanging out with my boys on the street corners, we used to sing Temptation songs. They started saying, hey, man, Magic, that's cool. And then people on the street start saying, hey, Magic. And I said,
He bought into it, and I think he felt he had to kind of live up to that name.
Guys.
Yeah, mostly, when you acknowledge a name, you know what I'm saying, you want to represent that name to the best of its ability, and also, represent it to the fullest, right? Because if you're going to have a name and you want it to represent you, then you want to make sure it's impactful, let alone you want the impact of your name just to be just as big as the impact you're trying to leave, right? So, what the world? Why won't let me skip this joint? Alright. Let me see, family. Oh, it's not trying to let me skip the ad, huh? Okay. I just mute that and keep talking or whatever. Oh, there we go.
And I must say that he did.
He loved it. The more attention he got, he wanted attention from anybody he could get it from.
Yeah, it does. I really love the game, and I just want to win.
Gets it over and back, and he jams it through.
You gotta love Magic Johnson's demeanor, though. He's very calm, has efficient communication skills, let alone very strong interpersonal communication skills. When it comes to business and so forth, he conducted himself like a businessman before the businessman he became to be. So he manifested just by his demeanor and how he carried himself and how professional and clear and very efficient the way he talked, in little interviews like that, many interviews. Oh, I just wanted to win the game, and I wanted to, bring it, so.
Irvin loved to dress. Nice sandal belt pants and overcoats with the fur around the collar. Always had to have his afro blown out. He had to look the part, play the part.
Irvin was the first guy to have a posse. He not only had a posse of a lot of black kids, he had a lot of white kids and hanging around him.
Some of my white friends was like, hey, man, we're having a kegger tonight. Won't you come on by? And I said, what's a kegger? So he said, well, what it is, we get this big keg of beer, and you just go for it. Okay. Well, what time does the kegger start? Because regular party time in our neighborhood is 10, 11 o'clock. The kegger starts at 7. I said, the party starts at 7 o'clock? I said, okay, man.
He said, hold on. My party is later. Y'all party earlier. We talking about early as... We talking about as early as... bedtime early.
Come to the kegger. We had a good time. The music was kind of bad, but we had a good time,
His senior year, Johnson did at Everett what he had planned to do at Sexton, win the state championship. And when it came to choosing a college, he decided to stay where the love would be assured, home in Lansing.
Next year I will.
That was a great business move, though, because it's cheaper to go to college in state. You get more aid, and it's cheaper to go to college where you are, where you live at, than it is to go out of state.
Attended Michigan State University.
At MSU, Magic's star quickly went national. But atop the college game, he soon discovered a certain presence beside him.
Look at my man Larry Bird. Got the ladies talking about, shh. college basketball's secret weapon, explosive Larry Bird.
The first time I saw Larry Bird was actually in a magazine. Saw his stats, blown away by his stats. But let's see if he can really do it against us. And that's always a mindset of black players if he's a great white player.
In 1978, after his freshman year, Magic would quickly find out when both he and Bird were chosen to play for Team USA in the World Invitational Tournament.
They would put Larry Bird and I on the same team together to scrimmage, right? It was blowing my mind because he's dominating Jack Givens, Player of the Year in college basketball. Larry Bird is eating him alive. I couldn't wait to call home to tell my boys, man, this dude named Larry Bird is for real. This is the baddest white dude.
My man Magic said if he getting a Player of the Year by stats and, you know, doing his thing with his offensive and defensive skills and everything, he bringing it all to the court. And my man basically saying indirectly, like, this man Larry Bird should be Player of the Year, and he over there kicking butt and giving it all he got and going hard and working hard and backing up his stats, his scoring, his points, all the points and all the assists, all the rebounds, his stats, having a good stats in the game of basketball coming up. Seeing him on the same team, on the USA team, being able to not only back it up, but he looking like, dang, man, y'all sure y'all picked the right Player of the Year? Because my man over here playing like he the Player of the Year, and he been all alone because I seen the stats in the magazine. So it's making him question, like, y'all sure y'all picked the right person? Because my man Larry Bird over here doing it.
I've ever seen in my life.
Well, I thought he was very good. There's no question about it. I thought he's probably the best guard on the team.
Irvin Johnson, look at that. Oh!
We didn't get to play a lot, but you could tell.
I think our first game was in Kentucky. We got about a 10, 12-point lead. Man, they put us in. Went to 25, 30, just that fast.
Wow.
Fast break again, 3-on-2. Griffith.
Cookies. Larry Bird got the steal.
The lead go back down, put us back in.
That's Bird and Johnson.
So I see what they did. They put y'all in as offensive weapons and defensive weapons. Okay, we get a little bit down. It's starting to get a little bit tense. You know, we gonna need to gain the lead back and be at a comfortable spot along with being ahead on the scoreboard. So as the score keep fluctuating, when it goes down, we're gonna put y'all back in. When it goes up, we're gonna take y'all out and let y'all chill.
Start again.
When you play with Magic, there's just something about it. You want to make that extra pass. You want to get that rebound and start to break.
Football pass.
We came down a couple times. I go behind my back, no look to him. He no look back to me. And I'm laying it up. I'm saying, oh, man.
Here's that last play. Magic Johnson going in, drops off to Bird. Bird puts it back off, inside to Johnson. Super basket.
This guy got game.
They had some wonderful moments on the court.
Well, they both are selfish players, too. Very, 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 very strong offensive weapons when it comes to their team and the playmaking abilities, right? They have very, very strong, selfless basketball. And they basically get their offense going for both of their own teams that they play for. They are basically the leaders of their team when it comes to coordinating the offensive play. You know, so when they came to them playing with each other, it was light work, nothing. You got two selfless players that's willing to pass each other, make that extra pass just to make the points, and the overall objective they both had was to win, right? So at the end of the day, they doing what they have to do and doing it well.
They probably spoke to each other 4, maybe 5 times during that entire time period, and it was more like, hello, how are you this morning, Larry? I'm good, Magic. What'd you have for breakfast? Don't remember. Have a nice day.
Wow.
But such curtness was hardly strange coming from Larry Bird, who was not only one of college basketball's best players, but also its biggest enigma.
I think he was a mystery to the extent that that he wanted to be a mystery. He didn't enjoy doing interviews. He didn't go out of his way to do them. He wasn't particularly...
I like Larry Bird's swagger because the simple fact is he didn't seek the spotlight. Even though the spotlight came to him and he couldn't control that, but he always controlled his emotions, his swagger, and how he was as a person, and always been his authentic self. You know what I'm saying? He's like, I don't want to be in the spotlight. I want to be the man behind the scenes, putting in that work, you know, with the overall objective to win. But the simple fact that he was so efficient and so effective and so amazing at his talent, his skills, and him being a gift to the game, aligned with his purpose, that you can't. How can you not bring him to the spotlight? I feel like their courtship definitely revived the NBA. You know, made the NBA sane. Let alone it brought life to the simple fact of fresh competition, but very, very deep competition to the simple fact that every fan, no matter what side you're on, the Lakers fan or Celtics fan, you immersed yourself into the game of basketball, period, just by seeing these fellas play. Because let alone it just, you don't know what to expect, man. But you know it's going to be greatness. And that's the synonym for both of them is greatness.
He was kind of like, hey, this is who I am. You want to know who I am? Watch the game. That's who I am.
I start to read materials that you're very quiet and you don't enjoy talking to newspaper people.
Well, you know, there's different kind of newspaper people. There's people that try to push you. You know, there's people try to get things out of you. Things don't even pertain to basketball, and them are the type of people I like to stay away from.
He didn't want people talking about his family. He didn't want his mother to have to deal with that or his siblings to have to deal with that.
You got to remember where Larry came from, you know.
I respect that because the simple fact is I wanted to be an NBA player, basketball player. I signed up for this. I'm the one that committed to this journey along the line with the purpose that I have and the things that I enjoy and passionate about and learning, which then, gratefully, I'm grateful for it, came my career. But at the end of the day, do not involve my family members in it who have nothing to do with it, let alone why should they feel though? Why should they feel as though they or have to be under their pressures, under the pressure, I should say, and feel the backlash in regards of the spotlight that I'm bringing, let alone I'm not even really seeking for the spotlight. I'm just playing my game, doing what I love to do, which is my career. But my family don't have to experience the later effects or the different kinds of individuals coming to them due to the spotlight that I brung. Why should they have to deal with these other things they didn't sign up for, basically? Why should they have to deal with reporters? Like he said, there's two different kind of reporters where they're trying to push things out of and somewhat in a way provoke my family to get some information out of them that's beneficial to them or anything of that nature. You know what I'm saying? Just to try to get any information, period, as a reporter, because that's what reporters do. You know what I'm saying? They retrieve information and then relay the information the way they want to, so it then gains the interest of the viewer, which then gains traction so other viewers can see it, and then a viewer adds to another viewer, and it passes along around it passes down, you know, the message. So he kept business as business, families and relatives. He knew the distinctions, let alone he set the boundaries and realized, like, my family shouldn't have to deal with any unnecessary things they didn't even sign up for.
Larry was raised in a 2 or 3 room house on a railroad track. Their family probably lived on $50 a week.
Wow.
He was raised tough.
Larry Joe Bird grew up in southern Indiana, in the twin towns of French Lick and West Baden. The Valley, as locals call it, was a tough working-class area. Tiny and remote, it was one of the poorest places in the state.
Wow.
I didn't know that people made millions of dollars. I didn't know that everybody had a family car. I was in my own cocoon. I was in a small town with the people I knew, and I thought I'd live there for the rest of my life.
Arriving Pearl Harbor Day 1956, Larry was the 4th of 6 kids born to Georgia and Joe Bird. Early on, he and his older brothers earned a reputation around the Valley.
We were always considered troublemakers. We're either fighting amongst ourselves or there was always one of us fighting somebody. Larry was always one that kind of instigated things, you know.
If I get my brother in a fight with somebody his age, I was happy as hell, because I like to see him get beat up, and that's just the way it was.
Well, boys being boys, you know what I'm saying? The nature of being competitive, the nature of pushing each other to the highest extent, you know, playing games, being playful, and it's all surrounded around the competitive nature. Well, I could do this better than you. Know, I could do this. Oh, try me. I could do that. You know. But it can be good and bad. You know, there's always good and bad things to things, and you always have to find a balance because you can't overdo basically nothing in life. You can't overdo it because then it becomes to be detrimental, right? But you see how Larry Bird said he didn't know nothing about millionaires and none. He was living in his own cocoon. That's why it's better for. That's why we have to get out of what we know to be able to learn more, because you can't just succumb to what you know, because there's so much more other things you can know, which then will create change, good change, positive change, which then will help you evolve, and then you could bring the individuals up like your loved ones who can then evolve as well if they decide to. But you always, at the end of the day, have that positive impact, right?
If I got in a scrape with some kid and my brothers didn't come to my side, they knew that when he got home, my dad was going to whip him.
Larry and my dad were best of friends. They done everything together. When my dad would go out to my grandma's house, Larry would always go with him. They'd go fishing, do a lot of things together.
But Joe Bird also had a darker side, stemming from a traumatic tour of duty in Korea.
Larry remembers waking up in the middle of the night hearing his father's blood-curdling screams from the nightmares he had had from the war. What happened?
So basically, Joe Bird, Larry Bird's dad, had a traumatic bond when it came to not only, and shout out to Joe Bird for serving this country, you know, being in the service, and all the service people or service individuals who may watch this. I salute you and appreciate you for your service. But let alone the traumatic bond in regards of having a relationship and being committed to being one of the individuals in the service, him seeing some things that he cannot remove from, or let's say this, he had experienced some movable experiences that he cannot unsee. So that's understandable, but it's depends how you handle them, and everybody takes traumatic events or things or situations or circumstances differently.
His father in the war affected his entire life. He was never able to quite get rid of whatever those demons were.
A talented craftsman, Joe Bird struggled to hold steady jobs. And even when he was working, his demons would on occasion drive him to the bottle.
There were times when Joe went out with the guys and had a few beers and the wages didn't come home that night. And that didn't happen every day. It happened once in a while, but when money is as tight as it was for the Birds, once in a while was a major problem for their family.
Now, I know that from personal experiences as a man. When you're low on funds and you're trying to make the ends meet and you're doing the best you can and you're grateful for what you have and you're using what you have to try to take care of responsibilities, which you're grateful and blessed with, but then you feel less of a man when you can't handle the responsibilities. You can't handle the responsibilities as best as you want to, or just being able to take care of the responsibilities without having to be in distress, right?
My mom sometimes worked late, and sometimes she had 2 jobs, but that's the way it was. I worked at school during my lunch hours, worked at the local grocery store, put up hay in the summer. I mean, if you wanted money, you had to get it on your own.
Hard worker.
To young Larry, actions spoke louder than words.
He was very quiet, kind of hung to himself a little bit.
I saw Larry take an F in an English class because he had to get up in front of his peers and give a speech. So I won't do it. But he just could not get up in front of his friends and talk. He was that shy.
Of course, next thing you know, when he knew it was time for all of us together at the gymnasium, there he'd be. The minute he'd get a basketball in his hand, things were totally different.
Basketball was just What came to me seemed like easy. I didn't have the quickness, I didn't have jumping ability.